So this past weekend on Toonami, they aired Dragon Ball Super episode 69, English Dub, and I wanted to talk about this episode because it really struck me as to how things have changed as far as the Super Dub compared to the past, especially the distant past when it comes to Dragon Ball. Now, I want to clarify some things that have been going on also when it comes to the dub as far as confusion among the fandom. There's people who have been asking, is Dragon Ball Super changing time slots? Are they going to stop doing the dub? I have no idea where this confusion came from, but I think it may have come from the fact that what they're doing is before the Tournament of Power, which is going to be airing in a few weeks on Saturday nights on Toonami, they're going to be rerunning all the old Dragon Ball Super episodes on prime time. So, evenings on Toonami, on Cartoon Network, they're going to be airing old Dragon Ball Super episodes that have already been dubbed. These are not going to be new episodes, nor is it going to replace the Dragon Ball Super dub on the weekends. These are just episodes dubbed that have already aired from the beginning of Super, just to kind of catch everybody up. For those people who are watching on television and don't have Crunchyroll or Verve subscriptions, to catch everybody up to, Super, if you missed anything, now obviously, but most of you guys watching it, who are subbed to me, already have seen this. Maybe not dub, but you've seen all of Super, I would assume, right? And if you haven't, of course, check out Verve, vrv.co/geekdom. You get 30 free days. They are my partners now, so check them out, and I promise you'll be satisfied with that service. That being said, new episodes of Dragon Ball Super are still going to be airing Saturday nights as we move closer to the Tournament of Power, which is coming up very, very soon. Dubbed. It's going to probably begin airing in about 6 or so weeks. 5 weeks, I think, maybe a month or so, but depends on if anything gets preempted. So that will begin on Toonami with no breaks as far as I know. Now, let's talk about episode 69 of Super. This is the Dr. Slump Arale episode, okay? What stuns me is that I think people, and I've said this before, they overly criticize the English dub of Dragon Ball Super, and yet it amazes me as to the quality that they've been putting out now compared to Z. If you want to say Kai is a better dub, Resurrection F, Battle of Gods, the movies, that's fine, because Kai is like their best Dragon Ball dub, in my opinion. Obviously, Super does take more liberties. There are things that are changed and things like that. I'm not saying the Super dub is perfect at all. I'm not saying that. But a lot of people, I think, and I really believe this, are overly criticizing this Dragon Ball Super dub. And I think too many of them will sit there and pinpoint all of the bad without focusing on all of the good. I was absolutely floored. And I mean floored when I watched episode 69. And I'll tell you why, okay? I'll tell you why. Because, first of all, this episode is already extremely polarizing. This episode's already one that some of the fans who even watch his sub don't like it, because a lot of them either don't understand Arale, don't understand Dr. Slump, don't get that classic early 80s Toriyama humor. A lot of them grew up on the English dub of Z and they think it's an action show when really it's not really an action show. It's a wuxia show. It's a combination of action and comedy. But Slump is really like 95% comedy, right? There's not a lot of action there. Whereas Dragon Ball is more of an action show. But I think a lot of folks never understood its comedic roots in Toriyama being a gag manga writer. So the episode never got that much love, and I liked the episode a lot, don't get me wrong. But it does feel weird because they break the fourth wall several times. It's very different. It's like watching Avengers and then watching Deadpool. Like, Deadpool will constantly make fun of itself, make fun of other manga, or not manga, but other shows and comics, whereas Infinity War is very serious. That's what they did here with Super Episode 69. And I remember when it first aired, I know it was just really polarizing. Because, and again, some people just don't care about Arale, and that's fine. Like, I love Arale, and I promise you, if most of you watch Dr. Slump, which unfortunately is not localized, I assure you that most of you will probably like it. Not everyone, of course, but it's really, really funny. It's dirty as heck and really funny. I have a smile on my face. Now, that being said, what floored me is that they actually went so far as to, and they did not have to do this. They went so far as to actually translate the intro to Dr. Slump that airs at the beginning of the episode. Now, this is the intro from the 80s that they brought back for Super in the Japanese version. And I'm over here thinking, when they dub this, there's no way they're either gonna mute the audio or they're going to just play the Japanese one and assume that people will figure it out. But that's not what happened here. Brina Palencia, voice actress Brina Palencia, did the intro to this and sang the Japanese Dr. Slump song in English, and it sounded so freaking good. This never, ever would have happened in the 90s. Never. It would have never happened. They would have never done anything like this, especially for a property like Dr. Slump that Funimation does not have the license to. They don't even have permission. Well, I'm sure they got permission for this episode, but they don't even have permission to even put this out separately. Like, they can't even put Dr. Slump out right now, right? And yet they still did this. And to me, it's like people overly criticize the dub for changing lines here and there, which to me is just, yeah, they do it, but not as much as everybody says they do. And yet they don't sit there and they don't praise when they do something right, which is this. This is actually something above and beyond. And like, I know that there's people who are purists of the Japanese version. I myself am one of them, but come on. Like, I gotta give credit where credit's due. That being said, the episode was so surprisingly accurate. Like, Vegeta actually, and because I was wondering, how are they gonna handle this? Vegeta actually refers to Arale as an 80s gag manga character. So it's like they're acknowledging this property, Dr. Slump. And the reason why it's a big deal, you have to understand, is that they don't have the license to it. See what I'm saying? In Japan, Toei has everything. They own it all. But in the US, when it comes to distributing, anime, Funimation does not have the license to that. And the fact that they were actually acknowledging its existence, which, by the way, you can read the Dr. Slump manga. It's out in English. The anime is not, except for the first 5 movies, which you can buy on Amazon. And you can buy it on Right Stuff. Herms actually helped to subtitle them. They're not dubbed, they're subbed only from Discotek Media. So Funimation is acknowledging a brand they don't even have the license to, and to me that was a big deal. And I loved some of the jokes that were in this episode, because the Japanese version makes fun of itself, and so did the dub, but in different ways. For example, Dr. Mashirito says that when he talks to Senbei, he's like, I've come back from the home for infinite losers. They have not referred to hell as the home for infinite losers in over 12 years, folks. The home for infinite losers was the super hyper censored ocean dub name for hell. And they, the HFIL or whatever, which I think is just so embarrassing. HFIL is the worst thing they ever did. Well, okay, not the worst, but it was really bad. But they had to do it because of the censorship back in the early 90s, the mid-90s, mid to late 90s. Now, it's a joke. And there were some people I was seeing, I was talking to my friend Chris about this on Twitter, and we both kind of figured out it was a joke, but there were people who were actually mad, like, how could they say home for infinite losers? Brother, they're making fun of themselves. They're making fun of their checkered dub history. Like, look at what we have now. Look what we have now. Is it self-aware? Yeah. Is the English dub too self-aware? Sometimes. But this is the episode where it needed to be self-aware. You feel me? And it was crazy because Arale even says Nietzsche. She even says it. I couldn't believe I was seeing that in an English dub. It's such an obscure, like, Japanese. It's not obscure, like, in Japan, but for those of us in the West, it's definitely something that's not mainstream when it comes to anime. And they did it. I couldn't believe it. Not to mention that right from the beginning, the narrator pronounced her name as Arale, not Arale, which is the correct way to say her name. I couldn't believe it. Brina Palencia not only voices Arale, but also does the intro music, like I said. And when it comes to Senbei Norimaki, the original voice actor who played him back in the old Dragon Ball dub is Bryce Armstrong. But Bryce Armstrong, as far as I've seen, has been retired for years and years and years from the business. He was replaced by R. Bruce Elliott, and I think he did a fantastic job, and really did a fantastic job in capturing that character. And to me, the one that really surprised me was Barry Yandel as Mashirito, because I was wondering how they were going to be able to capture Dr. Mashirito's wackiness in the dub correctly, and I was wondering who could they get to play him, how can they do it? And Barry Yandel did a great job. Mashirito was never in the original Dragon Ball dub where they had like the episodes where Goku met Arale in Penguin Village, so this is a new character to the series, and I think that it was very well performed. I couldn't believe that there were people that I saw complaining about the HFIL joke and things like that. Like, if you're going to complain about a fourth wall episode doing jokes that are fourth wall, even though they're dub-only jokes, like, you need some more time on your hands, dude, because as far as I'm concerned, Funimation and Okatron, Raleigh Pickens, and Sabbit, and everybody involved in this thing really went above and beyond to produce a good quality dub, despite concerns of maybe people not getting the jokes. It was done the way that I would have done it, and I really liked it a lot, and I respect them for that. And again, I don't always agree with some of the line changes that they've had in the past of the dub, but this was a quality episode. Thumbs up for me. Check it out, and we'll see where the dub goes, because the next episode is supposed to be the baseball one, which is actually my favorite episode of Super. I think it's my favorite episode. Yeah, it's such a fun episode, a wacky episode. Definitely the funniest in my opinion. So let me know what you think. If you saw the episode dubbed, Dragon Ball Super episode 69. Love that number. I'll talk to y'all soon.